Okay, I've told you guys for a long time, I love me some Mafia. I love me some Mafia for the stories, for the vibes. You know, the gameplay has always left a good bit to be desired, but I love the stories of Mafia. I love the settings in which they place the games. And so even if they're not perfect games, far from it, I would say, they are right up my alley. I mean, in many ways, they're exactly the kind of thing I like. They've certainly struggled though. Mafia 3 was like the big one, because that one was broken as hell. I think it was 2016. It was super broken. It was rushed out. And it also was built on this like open world thing that just was not that fun. Highly repetitive, got super boring. And so even when they fixed the game and you could play it, it still wasn't that great. Even though I thought narratively there were some interesting things they were doing with it, it's just the gameplay was not great. And I think it was largely because you could tell that they were told you need to make an open world game. GTA is open world. That's what you're going to do. So do it. And it just didn't work. After that, there were layoffs at Hangar 13. There were restructurings. It wasn't clear if Hangar 13 was ever going to see the light of day again. It looked like they might be shut down and they just move on from Mafia, right? That's what a lot of us kind of were worried would happen. Thank you, Shadow Daddy, for becoming a member, by the way. Thank you. So a lot of us were worried about that, but then they did Mafia Definitive Edition, and Mafia Definitive Edition was a full from the ground up remake of the first game from like 2 decades before, and it was really good. And it, in my opinion, showed, okay, they still got it. They just have to be let out. Like they just have to be allowed to do what they are capable of. They have to have their talent unleashed, as it were. Don't force them to make an open world game if they don't want to. Don't force them to do this or that. Let them do what they want to do. Because when they did it with the Mafia remake and they took a lot of creative liberties there, it worked really well. And we recently got the announcement, of course, that Mafia, the Old Country, was coming. And we also got, as part of PAX East, a reveal of the gameplay trailer, which has been making the rounds. And I mean, the reaction has been very positive. Shout out to Hangar 13 and Take-Two for sending me the trailer a few days early so I could make a video on it since I was on vacation. I was like, I want to talk about it, but I'm going to be in a Disney park when the trailer drops. So I won't really be able to make I won't be streaming or anything. And so they gave me access to the trailer early, which was very nice of them. No sponsorship or anything. They just sent me the trailer and were like, don't talk about it till this time, which I appreciated. But they show some little bits of gameplay, some stealth sequences, some cutscenes and narrative stuff, just giving you a taste of probably what some of the levels are going to look like and what it's going to look like when you're moving through the environments and stuff. And the reaction, I think, has largely been very positive. Especially when you pair it with one of the other little interesting tidbits that was revealed as a part of this, okay? Skadoosh. Horseback. We have the racing sequences, all callbacks to previous Mafia things.
You again.
Looks good. Looks good. You notice a pre-order button. People pressed on that. You want to know what they saw? They saw something remarkable. They saw the game listed for $50. I didn't have this on my bingo card. I didn't. No, let's be honest. Let's be honest, okay? The $50 price point could indicate a few different things. It could mean the game is really short, which would be sad if it's only like 5 hours long for $50. Like that would be lame. Could mean it's really short. It could also mean that it's just tighter scope, which in this case, I think is a good thing. The problem with Mafia historically has been that the stories are the strength, and then like everything else that they try to do just doesn't really come together. So they basically bite off more than they can chew. So having a tighter scope, I think is actually a good thing in the case of Mafia. I think it's good. And this was paired with one of the other things that was revealed, which is that this is not an open world game. Okay. They have said that it is much more, it's a much more linear game. If anything, like some of you guys were watching the trailer and I saw you in chat mentioning that it looked like it was a, almost like Uncharted. And I think that comparison is fair. It does have a lot of Uncharted vibes to it. There probably are some levels that open up and are a little bit wider, but in general, you're going to be going through the story as they've written it. And they're not just going to give you a big empty map to go run around and go to quest objectives and do it that way. They're going to handcraft things for you to do and encounters for you to engage with, which I think is a way better fit for the type of game that Mafia is. You know, it's funny that nowadays not being open world is actually like relieving to a lot of players, because for a while it was like that's a selling point. But I think, you know, the fatigue has really kicked in for a lot of people. And they're just like, yeah, I don't need that. I don't need that. So I think that that's a good thing. And I think what they showed here, well, like this is not an uncut gameplay trailer. You know, we're seeing UI elements removed. We're seeing something that's pretty heavily edited. So we don't know exactly how it plays even still. I was hoping personally for some more extended uncut gameplay sequences. But, you know, this is better than nothing. It's more than we had, but I still think that the game could use maybe one of those trailers. Like, you remember the I think it was the Last of Us 2 gameplay trailer with the Seraphites. Yeah, E3 2018. This one, I'm hoping we maybe get something like this, where they just show the game running and somebody playing through, like, you know, 10 minutes of it. Just do that. Easy peasy. Last time I showed this on a YouTube video, we got YouTube did not like it, but I think do something like that, easy peasy. Like, it'll be really hard to argue with that if you can just show some unedited gameplay that's not, you know, cut together really fast. But as a trailer, I thought it did a good job. Now they also have another little tidbit here, which is what they call the developer insights. And let me show you this. It's pretty short, so we should be able to get through it very quickly, but it just gives you a little bit of an insight into the game.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick Baines, president of Hangar 13. We hope you enjoyed this new look at gameplay in Mafia: The Old Country. We're just 3 short months away now from getting this game in your hands, and we can't wait. Mafia: The Old Country is an origin story for the Mafia universe, and as such, it's both a step forward and a return to the fundamentals of the franchise. The heart of Mafia has always been deep, immersive storytelling, and Mafia: The Old Country is no exception. It's a premium experience in the vein of early Mafia games, with a linear narrative set against the stunning, authentic backdrop of 1900 Sicily. That focus has allowed us to deliver a classic organised crime drama in the period-authentic Mafia rules and traditions of the era. And, as you just saw, we've made some exciting gameplay updates. Whether you're using a knife or a gun, using stealth or in a shootout, this is brutal and grounded in all the best ways. It's all going to pull you in from every angle, pushing the franchise forward in a location and time painstakingly created with the utmost authenticity and detail using Unreal Engine 5. Stick around, because next up is our development team, who have loads of awesome behind-the-scenes insights on how we brought this title to life. And stay tuned between now and August, as we'll have even more to tell and show. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Come in.
Couple things. Some people, okay, people are saying bald. How dare you guys? He is a shining pillar in a dark background, so maybe it stands out more. Okay. I think he's glistening with confidence. I appreciate him just getting out there and, you know, even though you're making bald jokes, he's just polishing the game. You know, I think, okay, I'll stop. No, I don't know anything about Nick Baines, but you guys calm down. He's glowing with style. Yeah, exactly. He's glowing with style. People have already brought up like Unreal Engine. Oh no, it's going to be like super stuttery. We don't know yet. Hopefully not, but maybe. We don't know yet. Okay, so let's not judge it too early. What I will say is that I can see remnants, where was it? Remnants of upscalers and stuff being used, which at this stage, while they're polishing and trying to improve performance and stuff, is not that shocking. But you can see it in high movement areas. It's usually this like kind of almost like aura around moving objects where like FSR upscalers and stuff, temporal upscalers just in general struggle with this, but FSR especially. You start getting this little bit of artifacting around the moving objects. So as the frames tick by, it kind of settles and gets blended out and the algorithm figures out what's going on. but you can usually spot it. And it's not that big of a deal in a trailer because it's also compressed a lot already, but it is just something to be aware of, that there definitely is some upscaling being used. But anyway, continuing on.
Come in.
Our top goal for every Mafia game is to deliver the promise to a player that you're going to play a classic mob movie. Mafia the Old Country is a linear crime drama set against a beautiful Sicilian backdrop. The first step for us was to make sure that we were nailing all of the things that players expect from a Mafia game. The quality of its storytelling, how immersive it is, how authentic it is. Previous Mafia games have been set in big American cities. We've taken the action and we've put our story in.
Did they really not show Mafia? Did I miss it?
The quality of its storytelling,
Definitive
how immersive
Edition.
it is, how
2.
authentic it is. Previous
Definitive
Mafia
Edition.
games have been set in big American cities. We've taken
Yeah, they didn't show 3. That's funny. That's a little funny. Okay, that's like a little funny. They just don't look at us. That's okay. That's a little funny.
the action and we've put
I
our
get
story
it.
in rural Sicily, in the place where the Mafia began.
You really feel like you're transported into another time. It feels really unique and different, but yet really familiar. Players are really going to enjoy that aspect of it.
Our entry point for making these crime dramas is always the protagonist. We wanted to make sure that our main character, Enzo Favara, lives up to the standard which we've set in the past, and I hope in some ways even exceeds that.
All of the men in this room are bound by blood.
Enzo grows up in a sulfur mine. He's one of a bunch of children that are sold to the mine owners at this point in history in Sicily. Their life expectancy is short and they're essentially seen as disposable.
Enzo turns to crime as a means to make something of himself. The odds are stacked against him. So what does he do? He sees an opportunity for himself to gain some status, to gain some respect.
Do you wish to commit to this family? I do.
Swearing the oath is the chance for him to finally be accepted. He's found a family. It's the thing he's been searching for his entire life, but it comes at a cost.
I think players are in for an emotional roller coaster. The high stakes of the Mafia life present opportunities for us as storytellers to take players and put players through the ringer, really, in terms of what happens to the character, what happens to them in the game.
You again.
What makes a really compelling gameplay experience is the mix of the high-intensity combat, cover play, cover shooting, set by these beautiful cinematics that make what you do in the combat so much more meaningful because you're fighting for something you really believe in.
Authenticity and immersion are key. And so we wanted to take that philosophy from the storytelling and make sure that it was consistent in the gameplay.
You know, whether you come for that core cover combat shooting experience or that white knuckle driving experience, we have that in Mafia the Old Country, but it's unique.
There's some downbeats, there's some deep storytelling moments, and then there's some like high intensity action. And I think that's what makes Mafia missions and the general experience so interesting, is that we're constantly trying to change that roller coaster experience that you're on.
Enzo's proving himself with
And why I also think it's crucial that they don't fill it with a bunch of mindless, like, open world crap. Because nothing kills pacing more than a really badass cutscene followed by a really awesome shootout. And then, please take my dry cleaning across the map over here. And then you need to go over here and pick up this box and deliver it over to this object. And this, you got to move that over to the other side of the map, and you have to do it all within 5 minutes, and there will be a countdown timer before you do it. Kills it. It's infuriating, and it's like, it feels like busy work, because that's frankly what it is. So having something that's much more carefully tuned, that you can be on top of much more precisely, because you know exactly where the player will be and what they're doing from moment to moment, I think that works way, way better.
guns, and we wanted the combat to feel like there was a scarcity of resources, so you have to be more tactical in the way that you approach combat. The knife has been an integral part of gameplay. It's a part of Sicilian culture.
We wanted our gameplay to be immersive, to have a life or death kind of vibe. So when players are in a knife duel, when they're in a gunfight, they're genuinely fearing for their lives.
My flesh must burn like this saint if I do not keep my oath.
This is one other thing, and this is just me, okay? I'm for whatever reason, I'm very sensitive to this, and I don't know why it kind of hits my ear weird, but the way they record the audio at Hangar 13, I noticed it in Definitive Edition, and it's back in Mafia the Old Country. I think they're using these like forehead mounted mics that they use in motion capture studios a lot. And they're good mics and they can work really well. But if you don't balance the audio quite the way I personally like it, if you boost the treble a bit too much, the audio is like too sharp for me. The dialogue's too sharp and crispy. And it picks up a lot more of the inhalation from the nose. So you hear a lot of constantly.
I burn like this saint if I do not keep my oath.
Oath. Like it's much more, it's like your ear is right in front of their nose. And you can tweak it in the sound settings in Definitive Edition and you can make it work. But the default sound balancing just hits my ear ever so slightly off. I don't know why. It might just be me, but that was a thing I noticed in Definitive Edition, and it's a thing here too, where it just sounds like the mic is like too close right to the ear. It's kind of weird. I don't know why.
Bringing 1900 Sicily to life for us, it infuses every aspect of the development. It's about the characters, it's about the music, it's about the story, it's about the setting, it's about the vistas, it's about the vehicles, it's everything. It always starts with research, it always starts with immersing ourselves in the subject matter. So whether that's reading every crime book around the Sicilian Mafia, watching all of the movies, even driving the cars, firing the weapons, and then translating that into the game, that's the development experience.
We even sent some folks out to Sicily. We were then able to take all of those experiences and try to translate it into an on-screen experience, but also a story. And those two things are woven together in a way that I think players are going to really enjoy.
Bravery is not common in this world, and so
the Mafia that we see in Mafia the Old Country is much different than the Mafia that we see in some of the other Mafia games. It's a time-honored tradition steeped in secrecy, and there's this sort of deep honor that we see within the Teresi family and within the characters there.
The characters' relationships.
I'm sorry. It's realistic. People make a lot of gross noises. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why that made me laugh so much. That's just funny. It's realistic, guys. People make gross noises. No, it might just be my headphone. To be clear, I've noticed this, like I said, for years. It's like I initially heard it with Definitive Edition, playing it on my Series S, and I like it's been a thing on multiple PCs, multiple headsets, and my Kef LS50 Mark II speakers. Like it's just a thing, and if you don't hear it, good. It's probably just me because I have very particular like auditory taste or whatever. But yeah, it's something I've noticed, and I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to move on because otherwise it's just me whining. It's not a big deal. Again, you can fix it in the settings, but the default sound balancing, I don't have this problem with other games typically, but yeah, the sound balancing for dialogue in Hangar 13's recent games, just for some reason, hits me like that. They're Italian. It's not the audio. Their accent has nothing to do with the mic placement. My point is the mic placement, and then after that, the balancing of the audio from the mic placement. If I talk like this right into the microphone, it sounds different than if I talk like this away from the microphone. My point is when they talk like this and the microphone's placed in a certain way and balanced a certain way, it doesn't sound right to my ear. That's all I'm saying. Okay. People are like, it's the Italian thing. It's realistic because people are gross. Next time, I'm just not going to say anything. Oh, they're speaking in italics. Oh, maybe that's it. Underrated comment right there, Shepard. That's good. That's very good.
With each other, the way they behave, he's very much influenced by that setting and that cultural difference.
This is a distinctive experience that I've never played before, and I'm sure that players are going to feel the same.
Mafia the Old Country is our first Unreal 5 game in the studio, and it's particularly suited to the Sicilian setting.
We've really been able to push the boat out in terms of sort of the real tiny details on everything.
You know, one of the big ones for me is metahuman. You have characters that have really lifelike expressions, micro details. You know, many times when I'm watching the game, especially on a big screen in 4K, I start to forget that they're characters rendered in an engine. They just look like real characters in a movie. I think that's the level of immersion that we want, and it allows people, I think, to really suspend their disbelief and go along for the ride.
Enzo is beautifully rendered in the game, and I think he's one of the most compelling game characters we've seen for a long time.
The thing I'm most excited about from Mafia the Old Country is finally getting the game in players' hands.
The story pulls you through really quickly, and at the end, it takes your breath away, and it's one that you're not going to want to spoil for your friends.
The visuals and the storytelling are absolutely next level.
Our setting's completely distinctive.
What I will say, he just alluded to like the story not going to be a skip, you know, like spoiling, it's spoilable. Mafia has some of the best like tie-ins to previous games of any that like I've ever played. If you've played Mafia, you know what I'm talking about, so don't spoil it either. But going from Mafia 1 to 2, even to 3 to a lesser extent, but especially 1 to 2, the way they tie those together, exactly, Melissa. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic. I don't know Italian, so I don't know what to say. It's spaghetti. I don't know. Lasagna. I don't know. Olive Garden. But it gets me excited that they're suggesting that maybe there's something like it's garlic bread. That there's something like that here going on as well. It gets me excited.
Story is completely unique. This is a game that you haven't played before. The best crime stories have unforgettable twists, and this game's no exception. Players are in for a treat.
Welcome, Enzo.
Welcome, Enzo. There's something so powerful about an Italian man whisper talking to you. Just makes you like, love me, daddy. It just, you know, it hits you. It just hits you. So I'm very excited for this. I think it looks really, really good and really solid. I'm excited for it. And I cannot stress enough how much of a comeback this would be if it does well and if it's good. Like Hangar 13 a few years ago, people thought was going to just be like shut down. People thought the studio was done, and they have the chance to come back and make one of the you know, surprise hits of the year if this goes well. So I really wish them the best of luck. I hope it's good. I hope it's good, because I love Mafia when it's at its peak. It's not been at its peak for a bit, so I would love to see them make a comeback here. That being said, it is launching again at $50, which is crazy, but that's where they're at. $50. We don't know exactly what the length is or anything like that. We don't know. But what I think this is sort of it's basically a reflection of the broader industry as well. You remember I said when they moved Nintendo games to $80 and now Xbox is doing it too? It has, for them, the added benefit of every time you buy a game, they're making extra money on it, right? But it also means that when they release games at prices that previously would have been pretty steep, even still, it feels like a gift. Feels like a gift, you know? And I think, you know, there's also this understanding now, and it's been very noticeable. Some of the biggest games of the last 2 years in terms of like relevance in pop culture and people trying new things, they've been games that came in well below the AAA price point. They've been games that come in at $40, at $50, at $30, whether you look at Helldivers or Pal World, games people would not have otherwise tried, but they tried them because they were cheaper, they were more accessible. And I think with this, they understood that given Mafia 3, the skepticism would have been much higher with this if they came out charging 70 or 80 certainly for it. And so instead they're like, we're going to meet you at a lower price point and we just want you to give it a shot. And we hope to earn back some of your trust and confidence in us. And maybe the next game will launch at 70 or 80 or whatever, if it's an even bigger, crazier, big budget thing. Maybe then they get there, or they'll cross that bridge when they come to it. But as of right now, they understand that like when you are not in the position of power, you don't get to demand the premium price. It's something I think Ubisoft had to learn with Star Wars Outlaws. When people don't think of you and are not super like confident in your quality and your ability to put out consistently good products, they're not willing to throw money at you because it's considered a risk. They just aren't willing to do that. So if you are playing catch up, you need to be more aggressive with your pricing, with your presentation, with your advertising, all of that. And that's something that they're doing here with Mafia. And I think it's a good thing, because I think, you know, at $50, a lot more people will be inclined to give this a shot than if it were 70. Even if it does, you know, gets good reviews, I think that goes a long way. Having said that, they also, let's see, where did I put it? Yeah, they have some more like environmental screenshots as well that you can see. Again, it's an Unreal Engine game. Screenshots are definitely its strength. It's movement, optimization, and stuff like that, where typically it starts to struggle. Good job, G Assassin, for clipping these, by the way. But yeah, I think it looks very good. I just hope they polish it up. But they seem pretty confident in their release date, you know, which I think is also a good sign. Which, by the way, again, the release date they announced was slated for August 8th. I think technically it's the 9th, but it shows as the 8th. I thought it was the 9th. Maybe it's the 8th. Maybe I'm just making things up. They also dropped the hardware specs, 55 gigs. It's amazing. Game like sizes are not insane when you don't just make open worlds. So 55 gigs is what they estimate it'll take to install. Minimum specs, they're saying like a 16 gigs of RAM, 5700 XT or an RTX 2070. They're recommending to go like 3080 Ti to 6950, and this is, let's see, running at 1440p. Minimum is running at 1080, running at medium for minimum and running at high for recommended, which is about in line with Kant's performance and stuff like that. So seems decent to me. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll talk about it much more. I'm sure you won't escape me talking about it because I want Mafia to be good. I would love for them to nail this, but we'll see. We'll see. He took my thing.